Hi, everyone. Hi. Naomi, I know you are a dog person and a dog owner, but what, when you were approached about this role, was the appeal and maybe what might be the challenge of having a canine co-star and doing a lot of scenes with just the two of you?
Yeah, I was truly inspired by the story. Obviously, I read the screenplay first. Not obviously, some people read the book. I knew of it, but I just found it so compelling, this relationship. The heart of the story was about this communication, this parallel journey of grief and bonding at the same time in a wordless relationship, and how truly beautiful that could be and expansive, and something not usual, really, and also the friendship at the core of this love. And we see love examined in so many different ways with romance and everything, but you had the friendship with Bill, her mentor, as well as now with the dog, and there was just something beautiful about that. And despite the old adage, working with animals and children is always a complicated.
Don't do it, they say.
Yeah, they say don't do it. But I found it, and I've done it a couple of times now, interestingly, King Kong being one of them, and then I also did this little movie called Penguin Bloom, which was with a magpie, and in that case we used multiple magpies, but there was only one Bing, and even though we did have a photo double, he was never called upon because Bing delivered over and over again.
And working with Bing required you with human co-stars. Sometimes you get rehearsal. With Bing, you had to do your own preparation before you started shooting. Can you tell us a bit about what that was like?
Yeah, it was told. I got told, oh, you're going to have this intensive training program, and it starts off meeting twice a day, only for 20 minutes, which sounded absurd to me. I'm like, why? Why can't I just do one shot in 40 minutes? And then, you learn that you don't want to exhaust the dog, and you have to slowly, gradually build trust. So I was able to have him over to my house in the basement, and actually we got on the fast track very quickly because I have knowledge of dogs and experience, and it was totally fine and trusting of rolling around with him. But you realize the value and the importance of having this very specific program, because when you get to shooting scenes like that in New York, where there's all kinds of interference and unpredictabilities that will take place, whether it's people or dogs, dogs that can be quite aggressive, also traffic and bikers and all of that. And he's 150 pounds and like 5 times my strength, or more. So it was nerve-wracking. So I had to be made to feel like I could control him. And here we have the wonderful filmmakers.
Again, yes, Scott McGehee David Siegel.
Sorry, we're late.
Hi, guys. Well, since this was a New York traffic issue, I did want to ask, this is a very New York story, and like so many New York stories, it is one that is at its heart also about real estate. Can you tell us a bit about crafting the apartment that becomes this other character in addition to kind of Bing in this main story?
We do a lot of scouting on our bicycles, being New Yorkers ourselves. So even from the time when we're writing, we kind of look around the city and try to imagine the scenes, in real spaces. But one of the things we did early on was kind of look at pretty much every West Village block that we could imagine this story kind of being set in. And we identified one apartment building that was the kind of platonic ideal of Iris's apartment building. And we were just like, well, we'll never get that one. It's just right on the corner of Washington Square Park. But we set our locations, people on trying to do it, and they were able to get this building to allow us to film the exteriors there. We did the hallways at a second apartment, and we built the actual apartment in the third place, so it's kind of stitched together. But coincidentally, Billy Crudup lived in that building before he was with Naomi. So Billy came to set one day and like knew the doorman. They were yucking it up about like the old days. It was just a kind of serendipitous like New York moment when we realized this apartment was not only perfect for our story, but it had been kind of in the family.
I was hoping you could tell us a bit about finding Bing, since he is such this amazing cinematic presence. He just really brings such a kind of like soulfulness. But this was a real search for you. Bing is not a professional dog actor. This was his debut. What was the process like? And you had a specific idea of what kind of dog you wanted. It was not just a Great Dane, but a specific look. Is that right?
Well, yeah, he's right in the middle of the cover of the National Book Award-winning book, so it's like, that's the dog. When we met Bill Berloni, the trainer that we wound up using, he's like, can it be another dog? Because Great Danes, they can be difficult, and then we're like, Bill, look at the book, this is the dog. So yeah, we reached out to kennel clubs and dog groups, and all over the country. We went, I think the three of us went and visited 30 or 35 different Danes. It got hundreds of submissions, and Bing was the last dog that we saw, and we wanted that we had the right one.
I did want to ask about casting Bill Murray as well, since he's obviously an enormous part of this film. Even if I feel like you might have more scenes with Bing, I feel like he is such a kind of huge presence in the scenes. How did you find him for Walter? And Naomi, as I understand, you were kind of helpful in bringing him on board, because he can be a bit of an elusive figure sometimes.
Yeah. Well, one of my first conversations with the guys, when you're thinking about whether or not you want to do something, you like to understand their vision, and a lot of that can have to do with who they see in other roles, and right away, without hesitation, they said Bill for the character of Walter, and I was like, oh wow, right, yeah, totally see it, and couldn't imagine it any other way. And at first, when they said that, I thought, oh, okay, that's why they want me, because they want me to try and get him. And because I had done a nice film with him 10 years or so before, and had a good relationship with him, and so once I had it in my head, I couldn't think of it another way, so I just thought, well, I'll try this phone number I have. I don't know if it still works, and I certainly don't know if he'll return my call, and knew that he was elusive. But he called back, and I gave him the pitch, and he just happened to be in New York, and it wasn't like I could email him the script, because I don't know that he really does email. But so I had the guys put together a package, and meant a hard copy of the script, a hard copy of the book, and I may or may not have thrown in a bottle of red, and managed to find out that he was in New York at the Bowery Hotel, and I hand delivered it to him, and I think he got back right away, and then the elusive part, I suppose, was just him saying, he wouldn't say no, but he wouldn't say yes. So I just had to keep talking with him, and really, I said to the guys, I can't be sure that this is going to happen until he's really in fittings. I really didn't have a strong sense.
I don't know if you guys understand this exactly, but Hollywood actors always have an agent, a manager, usually a publicist, a
Lawyer.
whole group of people through which they negotiate things like this, and you make arrangements. And with Bill, you're literally like texting him. No, you're texting him his flight information. It's everything is just so hands-on with him, and it usually goes really well.
Well, he's never.
He does double book himself.
But when he says yes, he almost always shows up. He's kind of a man of his word, but getting him to say yes can be a challenge.
Like, you're prepared for him, you've got clothes to fit him in, and you've like built the sets and everyone's ready, but what if he doesn't come? You just don't know.
The movie was at the Jackson Hole Film Festival in December. Scott and Mike, our producing partner, and I decided we were going to go. And we mentioned this to Bill and said we were going because we wanted to ski at Jackson Hole. And he's like, "Oh, I might want to do that." And we're like encouraging him, yes. And then he started saying yes, he was going to come. But it's only over text, right? And we're trying to find out, do you want us to help with your arrangements? No, I'll handle my arrangements. When are you coming? I'm going to take care of that. But I was at the airport in Newark, and we still didn't have any information from Bill. And I get a text from him saying, "Here's my flight information. Can someone pick me up at the airport?" And you realize this is today. That's Bill.
Well, Bill is not here, but we do have another co-star to bring up. Can we bring up Bing the Great Dane? Handler and caretaker, Mom Bev.
One of our first Q&As, someone in the audience raised their hand and asked Bing the question, "Who's a good boy?"
I mean, the answer is obvious. Bev, can you tell us a little bit about when you were approached about having Bing in this movie?
So initially I received an email. It wasn't something I had sought out. And I shared with them, I actually deleted it at first. I'm in Iowa and they're talking about filming in New York and it just didn't seem realistic for me. And then I figured I would reach back out and try to help them find the right dog. And upon talking with everyone, it sounded like a really neat thing. I still didn't really have a complete understanding of the magnitude of it. And I submitted his photos, and a few weeks later, Scott and David and Bill Berloni flew out to meet us, and the rest is history.
I mean, Bev is the secret sauce for making this movie, because not only is she a trainer in her own right, but Bing loves her so much that wherever Bev was, that's where Bing's eyeline would go. So Bev would move behind the camera, so one side or the other, and Bing would follow her, and it was really something.
Can you tell us a little bit about, were there any scenes in particular that stood out to you in filming, either because they were, you were maybe worried about how they'd go, or they just were surprising in some way?
There were a few scenes. The hardest training one was the carrying of the t-shirt. That wasn't something that came easy or natural to him. We had to work on training that behavior for a very long time. And any scene that he had to act like he was being obstinate and not following direction was more difficult. He's so biddable that the scene where Constance Wu tells him to get off the couch, he's like, "I'm off, and I'm not getting back on it." And he's just very sensitive and soft, so it doesn't take much to convince him to not do something like that.
I have a question for all of you. When I was going in to see this film, I was reassured many times, which I needed, that nothing bad would happen to the dog. And I was wondering if you have personal theories about why it feels so much more devastating in movies. It comes up in the movie. Iris brings it up herself, that this is something we've become accustomed to, being worried about. Why do you think it's so devastating in a movie when something happens to the dog?
Interesting question. I didn't know until we were getting ready to market this movie. There's a whole website called whathappensToTheDog.com, right? And for people to kind of reassure themselves about what they're getting in for. But it's true. It's really tough to watch an animal as innocent as a dog kind of suffer at the hands of a filmmaker.
Yeah, nobody can handle that, especially now. We cannot have a dog die.
Do you have a theory? No.
I think, it's everybody, we love our pets so much, and I think it's so relatable to so many people. I think that's a big part of it too. It's extra hard to see a dog or any animal die in a movie. Yeah.
We do have a little time for audience Q&A. I don't know if we can just shout it out, or if we have microphones right here. Maybe 2 questions.
How did it get the R rating?
I see a hand right there.
How did it get the R rating?
How did it get the R rating?
Well, this is something you all could write letters and to protest about, because I'm going to tell you how the MPAA determines an R rating. So there are issues like nudity and actual sex, but if you say the word fuck, you can only say the word fuck 3 times in a movie.
And if you say it in a sexual context, that is, I think you only get 1 of those and you're R rated. That's the story that Iris tells.
Yeah, you
Walter.
can blow brains
You
out.
can commit so many acts of violence and still get a PG-13 rating, but if you say the F word 4 times, and they are very, very strict about it.
You have another question? Up here?
I love your film, and it's a beautiful film. You've spent so much time with Bing, for a year. It's been quite a while, and you watch him grow and grow old. And I guess I'm asking, what's it going to be like when you say goodbye?
Yeah, no.
I don't mean that, but by in the big way, but in the way that, like, well, we need to go in our different directions. But yeah.
It's funny. I was just thinking about that when we were in the van driving up here, because we're going to go to Iowa in a couple of weeks for a special screening in Iowa, and I was thinking, well, when is the next time we're going to see each other? And there's something wistful about it.
I remember when on the last day of filming, I was sobbing. I felt truly horrible after having this beautiful connect. You fall in love. And there was this moment, because we were shooting up in Harlem, right? We're way uptown, and we all had to go off in different directions. And then I suddenly was like, wait, where's Bing? Oh my God, I didn't get my goodbye with Bing. And I panicked and started sprinting back to where I thought he would
On
be.
125th Street, there's Naomi Watts running west.
True story.
Oh my God, I sent off my goodbye.
Can we demonstrate the Bing syndrome?
I think we can do that.
This is how Bing would say goodbye to each of our actors.
Good boy. He's such a good boy. Such a good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more. I see this lady is. Oh,
I just found the film to be such a gentle approach to suicide. And bring the humanity of our animals into the context of the suffering was brilliant, and that's why all of you. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we have Sigrid Smith to thank for a lot of that. And her book is such a sensitive and generous kind of conversation about that subject. If anyone hasn't read it, I recommend it really highly.
Can we all now plan for a part 2 of the story to bring everyone back together? I think Big is very excited about working together.
We'll think about it.
all right, I think that's all we have time for, I'm afraid, but can I get another round of applause, please? David, Naomi, and